On this episode of Game Shack, I take a look at the only 3/4 scale real pinball game that you can buy new, coming up next. Hey everybody, it's JDV here for EvilGeniusEntertainment.com. Thanks for stopping on into the Game Shack. And the month of pinball, February, keeps rolling on here as I take a look at this Jakks-Pacific 3/4 scale standing pinball game. Now, this is, as I said, the only game I was able to find that in the 3/4 scale size, new anywhere. I looked all over every place for this, something like this, and QVC is the only place that I could find to have it. I spent about $90 plus, I think, $7 shipping and handling for one of them. The other one I got as is for $60 with free shipping and handling. Just I waited for that to happen on QVC, so you can get them as low as $60. The as-is model looked mint to me, so I just think maybe it was return or something like that. As mentioned, it is the only 3/4 scale size. I do have some reviews of other tabletop real pinball games that you can get, but this is the only one in this size for $100 or less. Of course, you can buy bigger machines that are real, but there's really nothing in between this game and a 5,000 and up, real arcade game. There's a huge gap in the market. For whatever reason, there's just not a lot of these units. And even in the virtual world, even though we're anticipating the Marvel and Star Wars game, we're anticipating version 3 of Toy Shock's Haunted House and At Games Legendary Pinball, none of those games are actually out as I record this episode. The only thing that you can buy right now is the well-played virtual pinball game for $500. So if you don't want to spend, and even the cheapest one, the Toy Shock version 3, the version 1 and 2 were $400. We don't know if that price is going to stay steady or not. But so the cheapest virtual pinball game that you could get was $400. So this is under $100 delivered. And so what kind of value do you get for that money? Well, so let's look at the positives of this game. One, it's a real game. It has a decent sized pinball, you have sound effects, you have noise, you have a real plunger, you have music, you have real flippers. It is a real pinball game. It's a simple pinball game in that the only thing that interacts with the ball other than a kind of a flippy ramp is a spinning paddle in the center of the game. And this paddle kicks the ball in all different directions and can provide quite a bit of pinball excitement. It does have a secondary level that has 3 ramps going up to it. It has a little hidden cove area that you get higher point totals in. It does have a bunch of sound effects. It does have different scoring, so not everything is scored at 5 or 10 points or whatever. I mean, there are different scoring, and the scoring does, I think, sometimes multiply from what I can see. I've had the game for about 2 months, and the battery life on this thing, which I thought was going to suck because it has that spinning paddle that spins all the time, has actually been quite good. I'm still on the same 3 C batteries that I got at a dollar store, way back in December. So I've been pleasantly surprised by the battery life on this thing. It does have up to 5 players on it. It does have a scoring. You get 5 balls to start. I don't think you can get a free ball, and you cannot play multi-ball. It only has 1 ball. The ball itself is actually very cleverly stored in the kind of the bottom center of the game when you get it. If you're like, where's the ball? Where's the ball? It's there. It's in like a little drawer that you pull down, so it keeps the ball safe for travel. So that's kind of a cool thing. The metal legs that it comes with to stand it up are actually incredibly good. I was thinking for sure at this price point that it would just be little PVC pipes, but no, it comes with very stout legs. It comes with short legs that you can use on a tabletop, or it comes with longer legs, front and bottom. They're of course longer in the back to give you that tilt, and they're very good. And even though the machine in itself is all plastic, it's very solid. I've been able to really move the machine a lot. and it doesn't seem to hurt it at all. I've modded one of these machines. I've drilled holes into it and all of that. I've taken it completely apart. The solder is very good underneath. The mechanisms all seem quite stout. The motor, which I've beaten for the center paddle, I've beaten all up on that thing. It doesn't show any signs of burning out. So it seems to be a very, very tough little unit, and it's also very light. A child can move this. It really is not that heavy, even though it has these steel legs. So there's a lot to like about it. I love the play value of this game. I've played the heck out of this thing. I've played it for hours and hours and hours. I try to play it 1 or 2 games a day now, just kind of, hey, time for some pinball. You can get it, even if you max out the score, which is 990,000, it's maybe only 10 minutes, 15 minutes, so you can get a real pinball experience for that time. It does have volume control all the way down to 0. So there's a lot to like about this game. It doesn't always exactly play the same because of that spinning flipper and because of the tilty ramp. So there's a lot of fun in it, especially considering that there's nothing else in this price bracket and really at all, even virtually. So what are some of the negatives about this game? Well, right off the bat, there are 2 very big negatives you have to be aware of. One is that the back scoring screen is made of liquid crystal and you can't see it. Even in a well-lit room, hopefully I'll cut to some footage of that right now, you really can't see it. It's just very, very dim. I didn't realize until a day or 2 ago that they actually showed you how many balls you have because it's very small and very dim. And I've had the game for 2 months, but it does show you the how many balls you have left. But you're never going to be able to see it, particularly if you have this in your arcade room. If you have it in a dimmer setting, you're never going to be able to see it. I've actually tried to, in my mod, I took apart the backboard and tried to light it that way. It's very hard to. It's not worth the effort. So that is a big negative. The other huge negative is that the left flipper sticks like mad. It sticks like mad on both of the units I have. It's a complaint that you see on QVC forum quite a bit. Now I have a dead simple fix, which is I just took a small wood block, drilled a hole in it, placed that in there, and it's smooth as butter now. The play action on both flippers actually becomes very smooth as you play the game. It just kind of, I don't know, it just gets smoother. Both of them are pretty stiff out of the box, but the left one sticks. And that is a problem if you don't want to do any kind of modding at all. But if you can just find, even on like a Lincoln log or something like that, drill a little hole into one end, put in it, there's a little plug thing that you can put in there, and that solves the problem. I had it fixed within 10 minutes of having the game, but it should be something that works, and I can't quite understand. I've taken the game apart completely, and I can't quite understand why it does stick. There's nothing that I can see that it should make it stick, and yet it is a common problem. The other potential problem is that the spinning paddle thing, because it's always getting hit by the ball and provides the only real physical action on the game, other than the ball following or falling up and down the playfield, it wants to come up. And so you can kind of press down on the easily scratched thin plexiglass to kind of poke it down. On the one I play most, I have just taken it so I can just peel back the thing, push it down, and put it back. But again, you may not be willing to do that. So there are some issues on it. Another, I'd say the third biggest issue really is that every time you use a flipper, it makes a sound effect. And because this game can only have one sound effect at a time, that flipper sound is superseding all the scoring sound. And there are a lot of different sounds, to the positive, there are a lot of different scoring sounds on the game, but they get superseded every time you hit the flipper button. And I don't understand why it does that. They really should not have a sound effect for using the flippers. It doesn't make a lot of sense. They should have used that. That was the second thing I did, is I took the switches that make that happen out of the game. I will have a video here that shows the extensive modifications I have done to one of these games. In terms of what you can get, there are 3 varieties of this game. You can get it in space, you can get it in Race, which is a red game, and you can get it in Rockstar. Of the three, I think Rockstar looks the best. The play field looks the coolest. It has enough contrast in the colors to where you can see the ball easy. The space game is very dark. Now I've added in LEDs and other kind of reflective materials, kind of glow in the dark springs. So you can see the ball a lot better now, but again, in a dark arcade environment, it'll be a lot easier to see the ball on the Rockstar. On the other hand, all of the sound effects are all kind of space oriented. They don't necessarily make a whole lot of sense for the Race or the Rockstar versions of this game, but at least there are three that you can choose from depending on your taste. I didn't care for the red one at all, but that might be your, you might love that. So there is some variety there, but you're going to be getting stuck with the same sound effects in all of them. So what is my my final grade? Well, out of the box, again, considering that there's nothing else out there and that you are getting this for under $100 delivered to your door. In fact, you might be able to get a really good version for as low as $60 delivered to your door. I'm going to give this thing a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's too bad that the back display isn't well lit. In my tabletop versions, it has very bright red ones that you can see from halfway across the room, so I don't know why they cheaped out on this. It's a pretty important part of the game to see your score. I don't understand why every time you hit the flipper. But again, these are things that you can easily mod if you're willing to take out a screwdriver or get a piece of wood. But when you come right down to it, the game has a lot of play value. I've played this thing for hours and hours and hours since I got this thing in early December. Kind of an early Christmas present, getting ready for this month, for the Star Wars game. And it has been much more enjoyable than I thought it was. It gets kind of bad reviews because of the flipper and the screen. Some people complain about the plunger. It does have a real plunger and it does work. Sometimes you have to do it 2 or 3 times. I don't think that's a big deal. One other potential negative and or positive is that it does not have a tilt. So you can really move that ball around when you want to. And because the game is so light, it's going to move as even if you're being very careful with it, the game is going to jostle because it is so light. So I think even if they wanted to put in a tilt function, I don't think you'd be tilting all the time because the game is moving all over the place. But the bottom line is, it is an actual 3/4 scale pinball with a decent sized ball in there, with lots of different sound effects, different scoring. It's very fun to play. And if you're willing to do just a little bit of modification, like put in a $5 LED strip from say Five Below, put in a little wood paddle, you can get even more enjoyment out of the game. And I would highly recommend this if you are someone who is not a pinball snob, but wants to have a pinball game and is willing to do a little bit, a little bit of work. I do have other videos up about tabletop pinball games, but the reality is I always end up gravitating towards this game because it's bigger, it just has more stuff. The center spinny thing really is pretty cool. It's a gag you see on real pinball games sometimes, and they use it to pretty good effect here. Check out my modification video that I'm going to do on this game where I put in 2 flippers. I show you how the LED lights look. I'll show you how to take out the sound effect switches for when you use the flipper and a whole lot more. Okay, thanks for stopping in and checking us out. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. It really does help. Love each other, like, subscribe, share, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the Game Shack. Mwah.
Be sure to visit evilgeniusentertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.